So before the video begins, I want to say thank you to today's sponsor, Good Offer 24, for making today's video possible. If you guys are looking for Windows 10 Pro activation keys, you can use this website and use the code BT18 to get 18% off your Windows 10 Pro key. To use this product, simply type in activation settings in the search bar, click on change product key, enter your new key, and then hit next, and you're good to go. Alright, so first things first, we have the desk. This is a 55 by 24 inch Linman desk from IKEA. Nothing too special about it. It's white and I guess like this fake wood on the top here. Looks really nice. It is pretty lightweight because it is such a cheap desk, but I've used this thing before and it hasn't been a problem for me. We needed a nice wide desk in order to accommodate those two dual monitors that we're going to be using later on in the build. So this is a perfect candidate for that. Like I said, I've used it before, and it's been pretty great for me in the past, so we're going to go ahead and use it again today. Alright, so next up is the dual monitor mounting arm. This is basically just a big arm that comes out. So basically we're going to take a tape measure and measure 27.5 inches to the middle of the desk, and then we will center this clamp right there in the back, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick and I'll show you guys what exactly I'm talking about, and you'll kind of get a better idea of how this is going to work in just a second. Now, I've shown how to use these things in my previous setup builds as well, so I'm not going to go over too much detail on how to actually use one of these properly. It's not that hard, but basically when I show you guys the monitors that we're going to use, I will show you guys the back piece that actually mounts onto the arm here, which is what we'll use to actually hang the monitors off this stand. Alright, so there's not too much to talk about with this monitor arm, but let's go ahead and show you guys the monitors that we're going to use for today's build. Alright, so here's the box of the monitors. You can kind of see what we're working with here. AOC C24G1. These are 24-inch curved 1080p monitors, 104 Hz refresh rate, 1 millisecond response time. I got these for about $150 a piece, which is about the best I could find monitors of this spec for. They look really nice and they have really good reviews on Amazon, so I have a pretty good amount of confidence in these things. My first time using them today, so we're going to find out if they're any good or not. But regardless, let's show you guys what they actually look like. Alright, so here they are out of their packaging. Like I said, we're using 2 of them for today's build. There are the specs right there in case you guys actually care. On the back of this one right here, you can see the mounting plate, which will be eventually hung off of this piece right here. This little screw will eventually go through that hole right there, and that's kind of how this thing hangs off the stand. Seems kind of sketchy when you put it like that, but I've been using this thing for quite some time now and I've never had an issue. But yeah, there's nothing too crazy about them. Now I'm going to show you guys how to hang these things on the stand here. I'll try to get a tripod shot of that for you guys if I can. Alright, both of the monitors are hung on the stand. You can see there is a bit of a crack of light between the two monitors. We're going to fix that in just a second, so don't worry too much about that. So you guys can kind of see what we're working with here. You can see why we went with such a big desk. Literally just these 2 monitors take up the entire width of this desk. So I certainly would not recommend going with anything smaller than a 55-inch desk. But anyways, we're going to fire these things up in just a second here. But before we do that, I want to take care of this little crack of light like I mentioned earlier. I'll show you guys how to do that in just a second. And we're going to throw some LED strips on the back of these as well, so that way when the lights are off, it's going to look nice and cool. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So like I mentioned earlier, we're going to fix that crack of light between the 2 monitors. And to do that, it's pretty easy. We're just going to use some black electrical tape like this. We're just going to take a strip of it and put it between these 2 monitors in the back here. So there we go, we got the black tape installed there that will keep the LED strip lights from showing through the 2 monitors. It'll also help to keep the lights out and make it look more seamless from the front. So now we're going to go ahead and install the LED strip lights on the back of the monitors here. Speaking of LED strip lights, we're using these Mercury Smart Wi-Fi LED strips. I've used these in a few builds before and I've been really happy with these things. You can literally get these at Walmart. This is where I pick mine up at. These things are really bright, especially at night, and I personally like that. You can adjust the brightness, you can adjust the color, you can do all of that It does have an app if you want to use that, but there's also a physical control box if you don't want to get the app. So let's crack into this real quick. Here's what they give you in the box. This is the roll of strip lights. You have the physical control box that I was talking about. You just press the button and it'll change the colors and turn it off and on. They give you a little wall outlet connector for the USB cable. They also give you these little clips that you can nail into your wall if you want to wall mount this, but we're not going to use these obviously. Now I don't know how well you guys see it, but this does have 3M adhesive on the back of the strip, which is pretty standard. We're going to use that to stick it onto the back of these monitors here. Alright, so you guys can kind of see how we got this wired up on the back of the monitor here. It looks a bit shoddy from this angle, but you're never going to see it from this angle anyways. You'll see it from the front, and it'll look just fine once it's lit up. So one thing I recommend is using a little bit of clear packing tape to help hold the strips on. My general experience with LED strips is that the adhesive will hold it for a little while, like a week or so, and then eventually it'll just give out and it'll all fall off the back. So you could save yourself some trouble by adding some clear packing tape. I use the clear tape trick on all of my setups and it works just fine. Never had an issue with it falling off, and the strips never really get hot enough to melt the tape anyways, so that won't be a problem. But now that we got this all hooked up, we're going to go back to the front of the setup and we're going to start to go over the keyboard and the mouse and all the rest of the fun stuff like that. So I'll meet you guys up there. So first up, we got the keyboard. For that, we're using a Red Dragon mechanical gaming RGB keyboard. This company's products has pretty amazing reviews on Amazon. A lot of people swear by these. A lot of my friends actually use this as well, so I've got a good amount of faith in it. So here she is. It does have a metal body by the feel of it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is really cold, so I'm assuming it's metal. It has a really nice mechanical sound to it. I'll give you guys a little bit of a sound clip here. Sounds really nice. It also comes with a keycap and a switch puller, which is pretty cool. Most companies don't include that stuff with their products. And it also has these replacement mechanical switches. So I think it's just a way of them giving you another option to use for different switches, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And any of you guys that have been on this channel for a while know I have to match my mouse and keyboard brand. So we're also using a Red Dragon RGB gaming mouse as well. So here it is in all of its glory. I was actually messing with this thing earlier and it has a really nice feel to it. It doesn't feel quite as cheap as it really is. I will say that this shiny plastic on the side here is pretty cheap feeling, but that's like the only bad thing about this mouse. It does have a braided cable as well, so that should help it with being a little bit more durable than a regular rubber cable. Alright, the Red Dragon keyboard and mouse are both set up on the desk. I kind of threw together some cable management here. It's certainly not the best. I wouldn't even call it good, but ideally I'd be able to drill a hole in the desk and run the cables directly underneath the keyboard. That way you wouldn't see it and it would almost look wireless. However, I need this desk for other purposes besides this setup, so I don't want to ruin it, and drilling a hole in it would effectively make it useless for me. So I had to run with my backup plan, which was just to use some small zip ties to tie the cables together, and then use some little cable organizers to run them straight back to the stand. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. If you have the ability to drill a hole in your desk and run the cables down that way, I would certainly recommend it. It would look way better than this, but for now, this is what I'm working with. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the microphone for this setup. All right, so for the microphone, we're going with the Toner Q9 USB microphone. You can see we got it set up here in its shock mount, and the boom arm is mounted on the desk with a clamp, just the same as the dual monitor arm. So I've been testing out this microphone for like a week now, and I've got to say I'm actually really impressed with the quality of it for the price. It's actually pretty comparable to my Blue Yeti mic that I have, which costs almost twice as much as this thing. So pretty impressed with that. Plus it comes with the shock mount and the boom arm when you purchase it, so you don't have to buy any of that stuff separately. It's an all-in-one package, and I really appreciate that. So that's what we're using for this. I've got the cable zip tied onto the boom arm, that way it's a bit more organized. In hindsight, I should have mounted this cable on the back side of the boom arm, that way it would hide it better. I didn't think about that when I was doing it. Another thing, if you're doing this and you're zip tying your cable onto the boom arm, make sure you leave some slack at the corner here where this pivots. That way, if you move the microphone arm at all, it doesn't rip the cable out of the microphone or out of your PC, and you don't break anything. Alright, so one of the last things we have before we wrap this video up is the PC, of course. This is my $600 workhorse PC that I use all the time. It's not the best thing in the world, but it does the job certainly. I can play most games on high to ultra settings at 1080p 60 FPS minimum. So it does just fine for what it is. I built this thing a few years ago, and you know, it is showing some signs of wear, but I do plan on replacing this PC within the next few months. I do have a build planned for a replacement for this, so stay tuned if you guys want to see that video. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my PC and put it over there on the floor, and then we'll get all the cables fixed up and all pretty looking down there, and then I'll fire it up, get the monitor settings adjusted so that they're running at 144 Hertz like they should be, and then we'll get the keyboard, mouse, RGB lighting all figured out and all that good stuff. So I'm going to do that real quick. It's going to take me a little while, so I'm not going to show it on camera like I normally do. I'm going to do that real quick, and I will be right back when I'm done. Alright, so I got the PC fired up and all this stuff is kind of taken care of. You can see we got the Red Dragon mechanical keyboard and we have their matching mouse as well. These are in the rainbow mode right now so that they're just kind of doing their own thing there. We've got the LED strip lights behind the monitors, which are going crazy as well, with the rainbow effect too to match. And we got the monitors fired up and the settings are changed to 144 Hertz. So everything is looking pretty good now. We have one last thing to go over before we wrap the video up, and that is the gaming chair. So let's go over that now. Now, unfortunately, with today's budget, you can't obviously afford anything like a DX Racer or any nice brand like that. So you have to go with something a bit more budget friendly, and that's why I went with this chair right here. It still has the nice sporty gaming racing kind of look to it that most gaming chairs have. But at a fraction of the cost. This thing is actually really comfortable too. I've actually used this thing quite a bit in my main setup before making today's video, just to test it out and see if I actually liked it enough to feature it in one of these videos, and I'm actually pretty impressed with this thing. This lumbar support pillow right here actually has built-in massaging things inside of it, so you plug it into a USB port. There's a little cable on the side. You plug it into a USB port and you got a nice massaging chair as well, so it's pretty cool that it has that feature. A lot of more expensive gaming chairs don't have that. So alright guys, here we go. This is the final product of today's $1,300 budget gaming setup, complete with the PC and the gaming chair, of course. We've got the dual AOC monitors, the toner microphone, Red Dragon matching RGB mechanical keyboard and mouse, and the IKEA desk obviously as well. You can't miss that. So here is the final outcome. Sorry if the camera's making the LED strips look a bit like there's lines in it. There's not. It's just the way the camera picks up LED light. So there you guys go. This is the complete $1,300 build for this week. If you guys have any suggestions on how to improve this, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd love to see what you guys have to say about these builds. I'm always open to suggestions on how to improve these. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe to show me you guys actually like these videos. And with that being said, I'll see you guys all next